I was scammed by a woman. She said she was pregnant and the child was mine, but we had only met once. I rushed to the hospital to scold her, but she was lying weakly on the hospital bed and said to me, "You're the only man I've been with this year." To be honest, at that moment I almost believed her. Then she asked me to wash her underwear. It was raining that day. Yu Yao stood at the entrance of the maternal and child hospital, looking at me with a pale face. "Zhao Yang, I'm pregnant." I was stunned for a second, then anger flared up. "Why are you coming to me if you're pregnant? Go find the one who got you pregnant. I've only slept with you this year." I said, "I've only been with one woman this year. Do you believe me?" Yu Yao bit her lip and stared at me for a long time. "The child has been aborted." I got even angrier. "If it's aborted, why come to me? Are you trying to make me a fool and act like a happy dad? We're both adults. Can we be a little more dignified? You don't want to take responsibility, right? Then I'll go to your company tomorrow." I completely exploded. "Is it necessary?" She bit her lip and said nothing. I looked at her, looking like she had suffered a great injustice. I sneered inwardly. A woman I met at a bar, a one-night stand now, she says I've only slept with her in the past year. If I believe that, I'd be an idiot. I pulled a few $100 notes from my wallet and handed them over. "ISNT this just about money? Take it. Stop bothering me from now on." Liu Yao didn't take the money. Instead, she turned and walked into the hospital, holding an umbrella. In the rain, her back looked alarmingly thin. Suddenly, I felt a complex, indescribable emotion. I knew she was scamming me, but somehow I felt she might really be having a tough time. "Wait," I called out, pulling out a bank card. "This card has an overdraft. Buy yourself something to nourish your body." She turned to look at me, but didn't take the card. "Just seeing you're willing to take responsibility is enough. I just didn't want me taken advantage of and slept with, then end up pregnant without a clue." With that, she turned and left. I sat in the bar, drinking alone morosely, waiting for Fong Yuan. Fong Yuan was the only confidant I had in this city, also a colleague. He sat down and asked, "Got conned again? Why do you ask so many questions? Every time I lend you money, at least I should know who swindled you." "Liu Yao, that print model?" Fong Yuan frowned. "She shot her mall's poster last month, and her fee alone was over 10,000. It's not like she'd screw you over. 10,000 is more than enough for her for a month. If she gets into trouble and has no money to clean it up, she'll come crying to me. I fucking shouldn't have introduced her to our company in the first place." Fang Yuan sighed. "Zhao Yang, it's been 2 years since Jian Wei broke up with you. You really don't need to degrade yourself like this." Every time the name Jian Wei is brought up, I freeze for a moment. "I'm doing fine," I said. "No shortage of worries, right?" In the end, Fang Yuan cursed, "You're hopeless," and left. He even forgot about borrowing money. I walked back to my neighborhood in the light rain, an old, run-down complex without even a property management office. I rented a place on the top floor and had been 2 months behind on rent. When I reached the door, I found it slightly ajar. I pushed it open and saw the landlord, Old Lee, sitting on the couch with a strange woman. On the coffee table was a set of Audi Q7 keys. The woman sat upright with slightly wavy long hair, fair skin, and exquisitely delicate features. She exuded an air of untouchable nobility. Oldie spoke up. "Zhao Yang, this apartment. I've sold it to this young lady." I was completely stunned. "You can't just kick me out. I've lived here for 2 years, and you didn't even give me a heads up. I won't ask for the rent from the past few months. Just move out today. Get out of my way." Having snapped at Oldly, I turned to the woman. "The house is yours now. Can I keep renting from you?" The woman shook her head. "I'm living here myself. No renting. You drive a Q7 and live in this dump? You're deliberately messing with me, aren't you? You've got 1 hour to move out." "I'm not moving." I plopped down on the couch and lit a cigarette. The woman frowned and stood up, moving to the other side. Oldie took the chance to slip away, leaving just me and her. "What's your name, miss?" I asked. "Does it matter?" "Of course it does. I need to know which deity is making me homeless tonight." She didn't respond. "You've got 40 minutes left." Just then my phone rang. "Liao, Zhao Yang, can you come with me to the hospital tomorrow for a checkup? Can't you find someone else? Am I that free? You're the only friend I have in this city. We're fuck buddies, not friends. Can you tell the difference?" Liao was silent for a moment, then her voice dropped. "I'm really scared alone. If you don't come, I won't go for the checkup." After hanging up the phone, I cursed under my breath. When I looked up, I saw that woman staring at me with extreme disgust. "Scumbag," she said. "You were listening to my call. You have 30 minutes. I looked at the rain outside, softening my tone. Miss, it's storming out there. It's too late to move tonight. How about tomorrow? By 1 in the afternoon. She hesitated, then nodded. Brazenly, I added, could you lend me some money? I'm flat broke. I can't exactly sleep under a bridge. She looked at me like I was a plague. Finally, she said, I don't have cash. What a coincidence, I shamelessly replied. I don't like carrying cash either. Just let me borrow your card to withdraw 1,000. I'll return the money when I move tomorrow. She tossed me a card. The password is 6 zeros. Get done by 1 tomorrow. As I was leaving, I joked, want to consider being roommates? I can cook and give massages. Get lost. A throw pillow smacked me squarely in the face. I withdrew 1,000 from the card and checked the user info. Her name was Mi Kai. Mi meant food and clothing. Kai meant splendor. A life with both rice and color that's happiness. As for me, I had neither. The next day, I woke up nearly at noon. Liao had called me more than a dozen times, but I didn't answer. Still, I went to the hospital. After she finished her follow-up exam and was getting a 4-drip in the ward, I stayed by her side like a family member. The doctor called me out and said she was physically weak with anemia and couldn't afford to be careless with post-surgery recovery. The doctor prescribed over 3,000 yuan worth of medicine and supplements. My heart bled, but I gritted my teeth and swiped meat-sized card. When I helped her out of the hospital, Liao suddenly asked, a film crew is looking for me to shoot in Hungyan next month. What do you think? Should I go? If you get a chance, take it. I graduated from the performance department of Shanghai Theater Academy. No wonder your acting was so good when you were conning me. She ignored my sarcasm, looked at me seriously, and said, Zhaoyang, when I become a movie star, I'll only love you. Then she left like the wind. I was stunned for a long moment, then suddenly remembered that I'd missed the time I agreed to meet Tsai. I hurriedly took a taxi back. When I got to the downstairs, I was dumbfounded. All my luggage had been thrown into the hallway. Some of it was already wet from the rain, including a pair of black leather shoes that Jian Wei had given me before. I picked up those shoes, and the anger in my heart instantly shot up to my head. I rushed upstairs, kicked the door open. No one was inside. I raised my foot and kicked open the door to meet Tsai's room. She flipped over her quilt and mattress pad, scattering them on the floor. As I lit a cigarette to vent my anger, Mikai came back, carrying a mop and some daily necessities. She hadn't even realized what happened. I grabbed her by the collar and dragged her into the room, then opened the window to show her my luggage getting soaked in the rain downstairs. Why did you throw my stuff out in the rain? You didn't show up at all. I had to ask someone to help you move. Just because you were delayed a bit, is it a big deal to come late? A promise is a promise, she said stubbornly. I raised my hand as if to slap her. She didn't even blink, still staring at me coldly. The image of her wet black leather shoes flashed through my mind again and again. I lowered my hand, grabbed the quilt and blanket from the floor, and threw them all out the window. She bit her lip, and tears finally slid down her face. I placed the card on the table. There's exactly 4,016 yuan in this card. I don't have any money to pay you back right now, but I will return it to you for sure. Bastard, her voice trembled. All of you are bastards who don't keep your promises. I walked away. It was still raining. I moved my luggage to the pavilion by the roadside, not knowing where to go. I didn't have enough money left for a hotel or a rental. Fang Yuan was still mad at me and wouldn't answer my calls. I lit a cigarette and stared blankly at the passing cars. Then my phone rang. It was my old man. Zhaoyang, I've arrived in Suzhou. There's an exhibition tomorrow. I'll stay at your place tonight. Panic set and I couldn't let him see how badly I was living. Dad, just get a hotel. I'm having dinner with colleagues tonight. Leave the key under the doorframe. I'll let myself in. There are a lot of thieves lately. I didn't put it there. Then I'll wait for you to come back. Dad, I said urgently, you must be tired after sitting all day. Find a hotel. It's rush hour now, and your arms and legs won't survive the squeeze on the bus. After a moment of silence, he said, your mom knitted you a sweater. I brought it over for you. The line went dead. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then grabbed my luggage bag and dashed toward the roadside. Even if I had to beg on my knees, I had to stay in that apartment tonight. Back in the complex. Thank God the Q7 wasn't there. I hadn't returned the apartment keys to Mikai yet. I quickly stashed my luggage and made up the bed. Dad got off the bus, and I went up to take his bag. He really brought the glutinous rice wine my mom made and the boiled wild Crucian carp. Father and son sat in the room, drinking wine and eating fish. I was distracted the whole time, my ears tuned to any sound from outside. What I feared came true. Footsteps sounded outside. Then a key turned, the door opened, and Mikai walked in. I rushed to the door in an instant, covering her mouth with my hand. As I pushed her into her room, I shouted to Dad, "I'm helping her inside. She's been drinking." I pushed her into the room and pressed her onto the bed. She struggled desperately, grabbing my hair tightly. "Don't scream. My dad has high blood pressure. If he finds out I messed up this badly, he'll be furious and something bad might happen," I whispered. "Take pity on me. He's only staying one night. He'll leave tomorrow morning." She finally stopped struggling. Bastard. Her eyes were full of disgust and hatred. From the living room, Dad asked, "Jaeyoung, what's going on in there?" I replied, "She bumped into the cabinet." Then Mikai pushed me, and I fell straight off the bed. When I came out of the room, Dad had already ladled out 3 bowls of porridge. Mikai walked out holding her bag, ready to leave. Given all the misdeeds I had done before, it wouldn't be too much for me, Kai, to skin me alive. At this moment, exposing me in front of Dad would be exactly the karma I deserved. Just when I was so nervous my legs felt weak, Mikai walked straight toward the door without a sideways glance. It seemed she planned to leave this room to me for the night. Just as I was about to breathe a sigh of relief, my usually taciturn dad said to Mikai, who hadn't yet stepped out the door, "Miss, I've ladled you a bowl of kanji. Drink it while it's hot." I wish Mikai would leave quickly and kept signaling her with my eyes. But unexpectedly, Mikai looked at me, then actually nodded at Dad and said, "Thank you, Uncle." The two who had been fighting for their lives moments ago, somehow, as if bewitched, sat down at the same table to drink kanji. I remained like a suspect with a guilty conscience, silent but constantly on guard against me, Kai, lest she say something she shouldn't. From time to time, I glanced at me, Kai, out of the corner of my eye, but I had no idea what she was up to. However, she didn't seem to want to tell Dad about me. She just sipped her porridge slowly. Dad was always taciturn and didn't like to talk. He ate much more attentively than others, so he finished his bowl of porridge first. He stood up, picked up his briefcase, and said to me, "You have someone staying here. I'll go to a hotel." I glanced at Mitsai and said to Dad, "Dad, don't leave. You can just sleep with me later. I've been snoring badly lately, and you have to work tomorrow. Can't affect your sleep." Dad shook his head and said. Then he took a sweater out of his bag and handed it to me. "Your mom knitted this sweater for you." I took it, looked at it, and asked in confusion, "Why did she knit too?" "For when you have a girlfriend, so she can wear it." Home-knitted sweaters are thick and warm. I felt a bit helpless. I knew Dad and Mom were using this subtle way to remind me to find a girlfriend soon. I looked at Mitsai, who was still drinking her porridge, and teased, "It's getting cold. I'll give you a sweater later." Mitsai shot me a glare. She didn't blow up in front of Dad, but I was secretly delighted. Before leaving, Dad took out his wallet and counted, then pushed 3,000 yuan toward me, saying, "Take it." I smirked carelessly. "Why are you giving me money? I don't need it." Dad shoved the money into my hand. "You're my son. I know your ways well. How many times have I told you to manage your money wisely? Take some time to go pay the utility bills." With that, he glanced at the overdue utility bill that had fallen on the floor a few days ago. Suddenly, my nose tingled. I really wasn't a son who made my parents worry-free. I shoved the money back into Dad's hand. "I really don't need it. Mom isn't in good health. Keep it and buy her some health supplements. I'll get my salary next week." Dad didn't say much. He put the money on the table, glanced at Mitsai, and walked toward the door alone. I caught up with Dad and saw him to the ground floor. He, who had been silent all along, said to me, "That girl just now was pretty, not bad at all." I grabbed Dad's arm and said, looking at the Q7 parked nearby, "Dad, stop fantasizing. She's not my type. See that car? That's hers." Dad followed my gaze and looked at the red Q7. A puzzled expression appeared on his face. I think he was also wondering why Mitsai would drive such a car, yet live in such a rundown place. In the end, Dad chose to remain silent as usual. He felt helpless about my terrible situation. In fact, whether we want to admit it or not, we have truly entered an era where love has to be proven with money. So I told him to drop his fantasies. I myself was even less willing to indulge in fantasies. That night, my dad left me with a final word: work hard. Then he held up his umbrella and left in the rain. Watching his aging figure disappear into the rain, I read his expectations in those words. He expected me to work hard and marry a good girl. Let him hold a grandson, all right? But Dad, I'm living in my own helplessness and struggle. Living in the heaviness and pull of reality. All those good things yet to be realized can wait for now. All right. Back at the apartment, Mikai had almost finished her bowl of porridge. My unfinished bowl of porridge was still steaming. I took 2 salted duck eggs from the bag Dad left behind, handed one to Mikai, and said, "Try it. I'm almost done with my meal." In the 2 days since we met, this was the first time Mikai spoke to me in a normal tone. I smiled and said, "Have another bowl. White rice porridge won't make you fat." Mikai ignored my suggestion and said, "Your dad has left. You can move out now too." I looked out at the wind and rain and negotiated with me, Kai. "How about I don't move today? Can I stay one more night?" "No," Mikai said firmly. I slammed my chopsticks on the table and said angrily, "What's wrong with you, woman? Don't you know that eating someone's food makes you soft-tongued? Pork up the porridge you just ate, and I'll move out right now." Mikai blinked her beautiful eyes at me, left speechless by how quickly I could change my tune. I softened my tone again and said to her, "Sis, I've been running around all day today. Right now, I'm completely spent. So please cut me some slack, okay? You scumbag. Who are you calling sis? Miss that better?" I quickly said, then swore up and down. "Tomorrow. I'll move out for sure after work tomorrow." After a long pause, Mikai finally relented and said to me, "Remember what you just said? Of course, I'll move tomorrow for sure." Mikai shot me a dissatisfied look, picked up her bowl, and walked toward the rice cooker with the plain congee. Then she scooped herself another small bowl. "I thought you weren't eating anymore?" Mikai glared at me and said, "Anyway, I've already eaten my fill and lost my backbone. What's one more bowl?" I shook my head and sighed. Ah, this is how people sink into depravity. Although teasing, he peeled the salted duck egg and handed it to Mikai. She didn't refuse, so the two of them, in a strange atmosphere, continued eating. After the meal, I took the 3,000 yuan left by Dad and handed it to me, Kai. "Let me first pay you back 3,000. I'll give you the rest after I get my salary next week. If I give it to you, will you still have money for rent? Let's pay it back together later." "So you're thinking about me, huh?" "It's not that I deliberately don't want to pay you back." As I said that, I stuffed the money back into my wallet. "As long as you move out soon, nothing else matters," Mikai said, taking another sip of the porridge. She seemed to really like this porridge. Indeed, Dad's porridge-making skill is unparalleled. He can turn the most ordinary rice porridge into something that tastes like home. "I'm not a play god. You don't have to dislike me so much." I sighed and said, "With your character, do you expect me to like you?" I smiled and didn't say anything else. Maybe I really am a bad character. Maybe she has some misunderstanding about me. But it doesn't seem matter. I don't need to clarify or explain. Because after work tomorrow, we will draw a clear line between us. I drank the porridge in the bowl in one gulp, then stared at Meat Sai. At this moment, she was wearing a white long-sleeved chiffon blouse, black and white checkered pencil-style casual pants, and her slightly curly medium-length hair made her look exceptionally elegant. But she seemed slender. I took out the knitted sweater my dad had left and pretended to measure it in front of Meat Sai, gesturing for a while, then sighed and said, "The weather is getting cold. Don't you think this sweater suits you perfectly?" Meat Sai frowned. "What? You want me to be indebted to you? It really suits you perfectly. If you're willing to let me continue renting this room, I don't mind giving it to you." My dad said, "This sweater was knitted by my mom. It's thick and sturdy, blocks the wind in winter, and keeps you warm. I can't accept such kindness." I smiled and handed the sweater to her. "Just kidding. Even if you don't rent, I'll still give it to you. I have no plans to date anyone for now. Such a nice sweater would just go to waste if I kept it. Consider this my apology for my rude behavior yesterday." I put on my most sincere expression. Mikai hesitated for a moment, but actually took it. She took the sweater I handed her and said to me, "Fine, I accept your apology. And be nicer to your dad. Stop lying to him. He's worried about you." Accepting the apology and being nicer to your dad. Is there a logical connection between the two? I asked in surprise. My question made Mikai furious, and she said angrily, "You really are a jerk." With that, she stuffed the sweater into her handbag, pushed open the door, and left. I was left alone in the room. I couldn't quite understand why Mikai suddenly got so angry. I sat there thinking for a long time before it dawned on me. Maybe she accepted my apology this time, and even broke her own rule to let me stay another night, only out of sympathy for my dad. As for me, she still felt indifferent and annoyed. In her eyes, I got a woman pregnant, deceived my own father, was rough with her, and didn't keep my promises. If that's not a scumbag, what is? That night, meets I didn't stay in this room. I figured she must have other places in this city. But why did she have to live here? I racked my brains, but couldn't figure it out. So I just stopped thinking about it. There are always strange people and strange things in this world. Besides, compared to the endless wonders of the vast world, this isn't all that unusual. So there's no need to dig too deep. Just treat it as some sort of rich people's performance art. Actually, a lot of the time, I kind of like living in a daze like this. Because the truth might mean pain. Only by gaining can you lose. So if you don't know the truth, there's no pain. If you never get something, you'll never have to lose it. The next day, I arrived at the company. After the weekly planning department meeting, Fong Yuan and I walked out of the conference room side by side, followed by another colleague, Zhao Li. I lit a cigarette, put it in my mouth, and waved at him. Come here. Zhao Li looked at me warily. What's up? I heard you like outdoor sports. Yeah, I really like them. I smiled and said, I have a set of professional outdoor gear. Bought it, but never used it. I'll sell it to you cheap. You don't like outdoor sports. Why did you buy outdoor gear? Zhao Li asked, puzzled. Exactly because I don't like them. So I never used them. It's as good as new, freaking awesome. Arc'teryx. You're getting a bargain. Selling the whole set to you for 2,000. I put my arm around Zhao Li's shoulder and said, Really? Zhao Li asked, overjoyed. I said impatiently, Of course. Give me the money now. I'll have Fong Yuan bring it to you tomorrow. It's been sitting at his place since I bought it. Zhao Li counted out 2,000 yuan from his wallet and handed it to me. He urged, Remember to bring it to me tomorrow, just in time for the rock climbing next weekend. I stuffed the money into my pocket and said, You tell Fong Yuan yourself. Zhao Li then turned to Fong Yuan, who was nearby and had been distracted all along, and said, Fong Yuan, remember to bring me the outdoor gear that Xiaoyang left at your place tomorrow. Bring me that outdoor gear from home. Fong Yuan snapped back to reality and asked, puzzled, What outdoor gear? The Arc'teryx said that Xiaoyang had sold it to me. Zhao Li explained it patiently. I took a deep drag of my cigarette and immediately headed to the restroom. Behind me, Fong Yuan burst out cursing. F-King bullshit. That's mine. Then I heard Fong Yuan say helplessly to Zhao Li, All right, Fina. I'll bring it to you tomorrow. After finishing my cigarette in the restroom, I returned to the office. A cup of coffee sat on Fong Yuan's desk. He was wearing radiation-proof glasses. Fingers clattered on the keyboard. I turned on the computer and, taking advantage of the booting time, fiddled with the lighter in my hand and chatted with Fong Yuan. Still busy with the proposal for Gucci setting up a counter in our mall, Fong Yuan didn't hold a grudge about what just happened inside. Yeah, I've been busy for almost a week. The business development department has been waiting for us to present the proposal and negotiate with Gucci's representatives. I grunted in response and didn't ask further. Fong Yuan and I are polar opposites. He's a workaholic while I have always been muddling along. The result of these two completely different attitudes is that, after working for the same 2 years, Fong Yuan is already the head of the copywriting planning team in the planning department. While I'm still drifting at the bottom, Fong Yuan suddenly stopped typing and stared at me for a long time with a thoughtful look. What's wrong? I asked. I was a bit puzzled by Fong Yuan's strange behavior. Fong Yuan finally spoke. A couple of days ago, I saw you were in a bad mood, and there was something I didn't tell you. Fong Yuan and Yin Yin are getting married next week. Finally getting married, huh? I sighed unconsciously. Then my heart ached with a series of twinges. Back then, Fong Yuan meeting Yin Yin was entirely because of me, and Jianwei. Yin Yin was Jianwei's best friend. Fong Yuan and I were like brothers. After I started dating Jianwei, it gave Fong Yuan and Yin Yin a chance to meet. Soon after, they also fell in love. During college, the four of us often hung out together, building a deeper friendship. We joked several times about getting married together after graduation. Fong Yuan and Yin Yin have made it and are heading to the altar. A truly huge joy, but it also laid bare my pain and loneliness, coldly and mercilessly exposed. In the end, I couldn't keep my love with Jianwei going. Sometimes a person's pain actually comes from comparison. But at this moment, aside from envying them in my pain and loneliness, what else could I do but wish Fong Yuan and Yin Yin well? The past will eventually turn to dust, yet the wind cannot blow it away. It settles on my heart, shrouding my world in a pall of gray. I forced a smile at Fong Yuan and said, "Bro, where's my wedding invitation? Hand it over quick." Fong Yuan nodded, pulled the invitation from his drawer, and handed it to me. I opened the invitation. In the photo, Fong Yuan and Yin Yin beamed with happiness. After a long silence, I asked Fong Yuan, "Will Jian Wei come back for your wedding?" You know, ever since she moved from Los Angeles to New York, we haven't been able to reach her. But Yin Yin sent her an email a few days ago. There's been no reply, yet no one can say for sure if she'll come. "Oh, is that so?" I replied flatly. I stopped talking to Fong Yuan. My fingers tapped away on the keyboard, but my eyes kept staring blankly at the screen. I was dazed the whole day, until the lazy dusk sunlight cast its glow on the clear glass. I realized it was time to leave work. Fong Yuan at the next desk was still busy. Feeling a bit idle, I went to the restroom for a smoke, waiting for the workday to end. When I came back, Yin Yin was sitting in my office chair. It seemed she was waiting for Fong Yuan to finish work. I teased Yin Yin. "Yin Yin, your butt has gotten fuller. My chair can barely hold you anymore. You're always so cheeky and improper." Yin Yin rolled her eyes at me and said. I raised an eyebrow and smiled at her. Truth be told, she was a beauty, the sexy kind, especially her buttocks. Round and firm, with long and slender legs, and a tall, lean figure combined. It was a perfect match. If she walked down the street, looking at her back and curves, the most beautiful would definitely be Yin Yin. I walked over to Fong Yuan, patted his shoulder, and asked, "You finished the main framework of that project proposal, right? The overall concept and framework are ready. Just need a little more text explanation at the end." Fong Yuan replied, "Then I'll take care of the rest. You can head off now. Don't keep Yin Yin waiting." Yin Yin pressed her hands on my face and said happily, "Zhao Yang, you're really good at this. You don't know how much we have to do later." "Well, getting married means there's always plenty to keep you busy," I said as I removed Yin Yan's hands from my face. Fong Yuan finally stretched his body and stood up, saying to me, "All right, I still have to go to the wedding planning company with Yin Yin right away. And we need to drop by the bridal shop too. If you have any questions, we can chat over the phone anytime. Don't worry, go handle your business," I said as I sat down in Fong Yuan's office chair. Fong Yuan quickly packed up his things. Yin Yin linked her arm through his. Just as they were leaving, she seemed to remember something and said to me, "Zhao Yang, our company's building is about to launch sales. If you want to buy, I can help you get an internal price. 1,500 yuan cheaper per square meter." Yin Yin works at a local real estate company as the sales department manager. The internal price she can get is definitely attractive, saving at least 100,000 on a house. But even so, I can't afford to buy a house. "Let's talk about it later," I replied. Fong Yuan asked Yin Yin, "Which development is this one?" "Zhongyuan Eco City, Phase 2. Yin Yin replied. Fong Yuan put down his briefcase and said to me with a serious expression, "Zhao Yang, buy it. This development is really good. If you miss this chance, who knows how long you'll have to wait. And house prices are definitely going to keep skyrocketing." "Buy what?" "You know my financial situation as well as I do. Yin Yin and I still have a few tens of thousands saved up. We can lend it to you. Go back and see if your dad can come up with something. Should be enough for a down payment, right? You two still have mortgage and car loans to pay. And you're about to get married, money's needed everywhere. You really don't need to worry about me." Yin Yin added, "We too can handle the mortgage and car loan easily. Zhao Yang, you should buy a house first. It'll be easier to find a girlfriend later. We really don't want to see you drifting like this. It's worrying, truly worrying. You too can handle the loan easily. But have you thought about how I'll pay off the loan after buying a house? I can't even support myself. So how the hell am I supposed to pay off a loan? All right, don't just stand here. It's getting dark soon." I urged Fong Yuan and Yin Yin to leave. Yin Yin and Fong Yuan exchanged a glance and both sighed softly. They looked at me again before leaving. Standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, I saw downstairs of the company. Yin Yin, arm in arm with Fong Yuan, walked toward their newly bought white Mazda 6. I felt an indescribable emotion in my heart. Fong Yuan, Yin Yin, and I all graduated from Suzhou University. They already have their own home in this city, his own house and car, soon to be married. I didn't quite understand why the gap between us was so vast. Was this a joke played on me by fate? Or had I brought it upon myself? Gazing into the distance, I couldn't help but think, if Jian Wei and I hadn't broken up, would we be married by now? At 9 p.m., I finally finished the proposal Fong Yuan had left behind. I stretched my body, picked up my cup, and walked toward the employee break room. I was going to have one last cup of coffee before the end of my shift. Absent-mindedly, I listened to the sound of coffee dripping from a machine into the cup, like a gentle whisper. And so, even desire had no place to hide. I took a big gulp of coffee and stared at the thick darkness outside the window, the struggling neon lights. I truly wished I could shed this weary body. The phone rang. I took it out of my pocket and saw it was Yu Yao again. I answered, and her weak voice said to me, "Xiaoyang, where are you?" "Working overtime," I replied with an ambiguous tone. "Can you come help me wash clothes? I can't get my hands wet." "Don't you have a washing machine?" I asked angrily in frustration. Lu Yao said in a tired voice. "Come over here," I said after a long, speechless pause. My point was the washing machine. Some clothes can't be washed in a machine. Then take them to the dry cleaners. I've been working all day. I'm exhausted like a dog and don't have the energy to go. I firmly refused. "You can't exactly take underwear to the dry cleaners, can you? Are you crazy? Asking me to wash your underwear." "Xiaoyang, I just had surgery. My hands really can't touch water. Can't you show a little pity?" Lu Yao choked up and said, "I know you graduated from the Shanghai Theater Academy. Please, stop pretending with me, okay?" Lu Yao really started crying. "I got pregnant with your child, and this is how you treat me? Have you ever thought about my feelings? Do you even know how heartbroken I am to the point of death? Are you putting on a Qiong Yao-style melodrama with me? Piling on the questions?" Lu Yao was sobbing uncontrollably. "So young, you beast. Do you want me to kill myself for you to see?" Lu Yao had me completely at a loss. "For heaven's sake, I give up. I'll go, all right?" Lu Yao's tone instantly turned calm. "Hurry up and come. I'll wait for you." Listening to the dial tone on the phone, I suddenly felt that if Lu Yao never reaches the level of a best actress, it would definitely be because the entertainment industry is blind. Her acting skills are practically divine. People who study acting are terrifying. Women who study acting are even more terrifying. I left the company and stood by the roadside waiting for a taxi. Suddenly remembered that I had promised Kai to help her move after work. It was already almost 9:30 now. She wouldn't have moved my stuff out again, would she? I muttered to myself. The taxi had already stopped beside me. I thought for a moment, since I already missed the appointment, I'll go wash Lu Yao's clothes first. As for moving, let's discuss it later when we get back. In about 15 minutes, I arrived at Lu Yao's single apartment. Standing at the door, I kept ringing the doorbell to vent my frustration at being forced to come. Lu Yao, wearing pajamas and holding a plush toy, opened the door with a haggard expression. Her pitiful appearance made me swallow back all the harsh words I had prepared. I just complained, "You're such a nag. If you hadn't slept, none of this would have happened." Lu Yao said, stepping aside to gesture me in. I didn't feel like quarreling with Lu Yao, so I walked in and asked her, "Where are the clothes?" "In a hamper in the bathroom." I went to the bathroom and was startled. 2 extra large hampers were stuffed full of clothes. I said angrily, "Did you deliberately save up a year's worth of clothes? To torture me?" Lu Yao ignored me. Instead, she turned up the TV volume in the living room. I was furious, but I gritted my teeth and dumped out all the dirty clothes from the laundry basket. I piled up the ones that could go in the washing machine, leaving one pile for those. Then I set aside a pile of things that needed hand washing, bras, and another pile for underwear and panties. For the next hour, I worked alongside the washing machine, busy for a full 60 minutes, before I finally finished washing all that laundry. Carrying the clean clothes to the balcony, I hung each piece up for her. After finishing everything, I stood on the balcony, lit a cigarette to ease the fatigue. Yu Yao came over with a fruit plate and softly asked, "Want some?" "No appetite," I said, taking a deep drag on my cigarette. Yu Yao took the cigarette from between my fingers, pulled a tissue from her pocket, and gently wiped the sweat off my forehead. In a soft voice, she said, "Xiaoyang, a magazine says that if a man is willing to wash a woman's bras and underwear, he must be a gentle and reliable good man. Get lost, okay? You think I actually want to wash your stuff?" Even after I cursed at her, Lu Yao still linked her arm with mine and nestled against my body, asking, "So, have you ever washed for any other woman besides me?" "No," irreplia impatiently. "Not even Jian Wei?" Lu Yao pressed. Aren't you annoying? What kind of damn question is that? As I said that, I pushed Lu Yao away. Lu Yao was already used to this attitude of mine. She didn't get angry or say anything, just looked at me. I put on my coat and said to her, after I leave, don't call me again. Lu Yao grabbed hold of me. I won't let you leave. Move aside. I raised my arm and shook off Lu Yao's hand that was holding onto me tightly. Lu Yao blocked the door again and said, don't leave yet. I have something for you. As she said this, she took out from her pajama pocket a bank card that seemed to have been prepared in advance and handed it to me, saying, for you, there's 10,000 yuan in the card. I know you spent a lot of money this time. I was stunned and asked, where did you get the money? I asked the crew for an advance. Are you finally having a conscience? Lu Yao stared at me with a sorrowful look for a long time. The child is yours after all. I said, I just want to see that you're willing to take responsibility. Of course I'll pay you back the money you spent. The more serious Lu Yao's expression grew, the more I felt she was putting on an act. In my eyes, she was just the kind of woman who loved to indulge in the glamour of nightlife. The sense of responsibility she talked about was utterly unreliable. I was the same way, so I understood her all too well. The reason she insisted the child was mine was perhaps just a form of comfort to fill her emptiness. Or maybe even she herself didn't know whose child it was. This strange kind of comfort is hard to explain in words, but anyone living in this decadent circle understands. On the surface, we seem carefree, but inside we're hollow. In the end, I still didn't take Lu Yao's card, even though I was really short on money. As for why I didn't take it, I can't really say. Maybe deep down, I sympathized with Lu Yao. I cursed her out loud, but when she was in need, I would still help her. No matter how glamorous she seemed, the emptiness behind it, I understood because we were the same kind of people. The only difference was, one day, she might actually become famous in the entertainment industry, while I was destined to live an ordinary and lonely life. Leaving Lu Yao's place, I immediately took a taxi to my former residence. I really hoped that Mikai wouldn't, because I didn't keep my promise. Throw my luggage out. I also didn't want to work overtime, nor did I want to be pestered by Lu Yao to do laundry. But life is full of so many unexpected things, leaving me helpless. The car drove into that old neighborhood. I first rolled down the window. I checked to see if my luggage had been moved out by Mikai. The result was satisfactory, even though I hadn't kept my promise. My luggage wasn't downstairs. It seemed my last warning had worked. I went upstairs lightly. When I opened the door, the room was pitch black. I glanced toward Mikai's room. Not a single ray of light through the crack in the door. So she hadn't come back tonight, after all. No wonder I hadn't seen her car downstairs. No wonder she hadn't moved my luggage out. Not coming back was fine tonight. I could squat here for another night. Maybe this was the only comfort heaven gave me at the end of the day. After a quick wash, I lay down on the bed. The moment I turned off the light and closed my eyes, the world suddenly fell still. I thought in this state I would quickly fall asleep, but some fragments recklessly enter my mind. All those fragments were about the past. Recalling the past, the emptiness and desolation of the present are dragged out. I don't understand why Fong Yuan and Yin Yin could, after graduation, persist and finally get married, while Jian Wei and I ended so dimly. What exactly did I not do well enough? I really wish Jian Wei could tell me herself, but such a simple request turned out to be a luxury. So I suffered in confusion for 2 years, rotted for 2 years. I heavily wiped my face, sat up from bed, and sat silently for a long time. I got out of bed and found that dust-covered guitar from the cabinet. I want to sing a song for myself, for Jian Wei. I tuned it with the tuner, plucked the strings, and hummed the tune Lost by Ying Hao. In this prosperity, who can see clearly? Again, eyes grow hazy. In this noise, who can escape? Again, it erodes you. These past events, who ever mentioned? Again, forget you. In the next life, who will meet again and be able to love you once more? I'm lost, can't find a map. This road of love has been so hard to walk. I'm lost, can't find a way back. How has this world become so numb? I am lost, can't find a path I came from. And the people around me are like strangers. I am lost, standing still in place. And your heart has flown to a distant place. When I sang the last line, I felt a warmth at the corner of my eye. I am lost, truly lost. I thought I had come so far in these 2 years. But on a map called love, I am still standing still. But her heart has flown to a distant place. I lit a cigarette, just took a puff. The door was suddenly knocked, startling me, almost snapping the guitar string. Isn't there no one home? Mikai's voice came from outside the door. If you're in the mood to sing, please find a place with no people. This is a residential area. I put on my slippers and opened the door. Mikai stood before me in a strapping nightgown. Her curvaceous figure was comparable to Yin Yan's. Her pretty face was so serene under the dim light. This made her aura unparalleled. Didn't you just hear me sing, "I lost my way"? Even if you're lost, you can still find a place with no people around, I said with a half smile. That's sophistry. Ignoring Mikai's displeasure, I asked, how come you're at home? I've been here the whole time. I didn't see your car downstairs. I parked it on the empty lot across the street. No wonder. I sighed and immediately tried to close the door, afraid that Mikai would bring up the moving issue. It was almost 1 in the morning now. Where could I move to? Mikai pushed against the door with both hands, not letting me succeed. I glared at her and asked, "You're not really planning to make me move out right now, are you?" "No." After a pause, Mikai continued, "Didn't you want to sing and get lost? I can take you to find a place with no one around. Let you vent to your heart's content." "Really? You're that good?" I asked cautiously, "since you've already kept me awake anyway. If you're still in the mood, I can be your listener." After thinking for a moment, she added, "Your voice is nice." I thought this was Mitsai taking the initiative to repair our relationship. Or perhaps she was impressed by my singing. Or maybe she pitied me, this decadent man. Anyway, whatever her motive, I felt I could agree to her request. Because I couldn't sleep either, so let's go crazy together. A moment later, Mitsai changed her clothes. I was in my pajamas, wearing slippers, holding my guitar, and we walked downstairs one after another. Mitsai drove her own car over. I opened the door and sat in the passenger seat. It wasn't that I had never ridden in a luxury car, but this was my first time in a Q7. I couldn't help but take a few extra looks before I could fasten my seatbelt. Mitsai had already floored the accelerator and the strong back thrust of the Q7. It almost smashed me against the car window. At this hour of the night, do you want a corpse sitting right beside you? I rubbed my aching head and said angrily to Mitsai, "Who told you not to wear your seatbelt? People who don't follow the rules deserve to get hit." Mitsai said coldly. I pointed at Mitsai, furious yet helpless, and said, "You're just taking revenge on me, damn it." Mitsai completely ignored me. She drove with the same expressionless face. About 20 minutes later, Mitsai really took me to a completely desolate suburban area where no one would come. She stopped the car, pulled the handbrake, and finally turned off the engine, saying to me, "No one's here, sing your heart out. There's not enough space in the car to move around. Then go down and sing. Do you think I'm an idiot? You're going to drive off later. And where would I go to complain?" I said warily. Ever since she deliberately, just because I hadn't fastened my seatbelt, she suddenly started the car, and I suspected she had ulterior motives. "You talk too much," Mikai said as she unbuckled her seatbelt. She got out of the car first, with an air of a gentleman's openness, while I, a petty man, looked anxious and worried. I also got out of the car and stood side by side with Mikai. Looking at the sky, I realized the weather this night was nice, the moon bright and stars few. The air was also good. I felt as if I had finally escaped from a noise and bustle. My heart gradually calmed down. I was truly grateful that Mikai had such an interest in bringing me to this quiet place. I needed to vent, to express the many displeasures and dissatisfaction with reality. I plucked the guitar strings and first sang a song from Jean Woolin's Metamorphosis. After I finished the song, Mikai unexpectedly applauded and asked, "Do you also like serious music?" "Yes, if there were more instruments, singing would feel better," I said, also surprised that Mikai actually knew this song. You know, serious music is not mainstream. It is both artistic and academic. Both the performer and the listener require a certain level of aesthetic appreciation. Mikai nodded and said, "You're not as clueless as you look. Judging by appearance is where you're narrow-minded." Mikai didn't mind my sharp retort. She turned to me again and said, "Please continue." I put down the guitar and said to Mikai, "You seem to know music pretty well. Can you play the guitar?" "Play one." As I said, I'm the listener. "You go on." I nodded. On such a dim night, in the boundless wilderness, having a woman so beautiful willing to be my listener was a gift from heaven. Thinking this, I suddenly felt more guilty for being so rough with Mikai earlier. Actually, she had been quite nice to me, lending me money and even letting me stay overnight. Now she was accompanying me to vent my frustration. Maybe I really should change my bad temper. A cold wind blew past. Mitsai subconsciously tugged at her thin clothes. I said to her with a hint of reluctance, "Get in the car. I'll just vent on my own." "Are you sure?" I nodded. Mitsai opened the car door and got in, but she didn't completely cut herself off from me. She rolled down the window, resting her chin on one hand as she looked at me, as if she was looking forward to my next song. I strummed the guitar strings and sang another song. Just as I was getting into it, the car behind me suddenly started. I spun around sharply. Mitsai had already fastened her seatbelt. She gave me an ambiguous smile and said, "Your voice is really quite good, but I have to go now. This is punishment for breaking your promise and being so rude." With that, the car shot off like an arrow from a bow, tearing through the dark curtain of the night. "Damn you." I pulled off my slipper and threw it at her car, but it landed with barely a thud. "You son of a bitch, you jerk. I fucking knew you had no good intentions. Taking advantage of my sympathy, may you be struck by lightning. Damn it, I'm not done with you yet." I paced around in a panic, incoherently shouting at Mitsai, who had already disappeared from my sight, cursing her. I've always been the type to get chummy with anyone easily, quick to trust, and not fond of being on guard. Ending up like this, I really fucking deserve it. Mitsai drove at 100 kilometers per hour for 20 minutes to bring me here. This means I am now at least 30 kilometers from my place. I feel like dying. How come all these bizarre things lately have all fallen on me? Picking up the slippers from the ground, I tucked in my clothes. Looked up. Thankfully, the Big Dipper was still twinkling. Found the brightest star, and after determining the directions, I started walking towards the distant blur of twinkling lights. It felt like a lonely escape. A full half-hour later, I finally saw a road with cars going back and forth. Looking closely, I really wanted to strangle that vicious woman. In front of me was the Shanghai-Nanjing Expressway at the border between Suzhou and Wuxi. After struggling until nearly dawn, I was finally given a ride to the city by a kind passerby. Then I took a taxi to my residence. In the end, I didn't have my wallet, so I couldn't even pay the fare. I threw the half-smoked pack of cigarettes to the driver and ran off. Entering the residential area, my anger began to burn. I wanted to talk to me, kind, not about life, not about ideals, but about why she treated me like this. Back in the room, I placed the guitar on the living room table. I came to Mikai's door. I raised my hand and pounded on it in a fit of rage. "Is it fun to toy with me? Do you know I have to go to work tomorrow?" I glanced at the sky outside the window, already starting to lighten, and corrected myself. "No, it's today. You've tormented me all night like this. What state of mind do I have to go to work? If the boss gets displeased and fires me, would you support me?" I rambled on, but there was no response from inside the room. "If you want me to curse even more harshly, just keep pretending you can't hear me," I said, then slammed the door hard again. Still no response from inside the room. Could she not have come back? Puzzled, I twisted the doorknob, only to find it locked from the inside. Anyway, in Mitsai's eyes, I'm nothing but a scumbag, so it doesn't hurt to add breaking into her room at night to the list. I found her room key on my keychain, then opened the door whether she was asleep or not. I had to have a word with her. I turned on the light and finally saw Mitsai lying on her side, on the bed, covered with a quilt, her back to me. She still didn't say a word. "You're sleeping soundly. Have you thought about the suffering I've been through?" The wind along the way made my nose run like crazy. "Achoo!" I sneezed, rubbed my nose, and continued angrily. "Let me tell you, in my 20-odd years of life, I've never seen anyone act the way you do. That was really sly and mean." I kept cursing endlessly, but she remained as steady as a mountain, completely unmoved. Just as I was about to pull her out of bed and confront her face to face, she suddenly started coughing violently. From common life experience, if my sneezing just now was a cold, then her coughing like this definitely means she has a fever. She must have caught a chill last night. I paused for a moment, then cursed, "Heaven has eyes. You're just deserts." Mikai coughed again, but didn't say a word to me. I didn't know if she just couldn't be bothered with me, or if the pain of the fever left her too weak to argue. "Get out." After a long while, Mikai said coldly to me, "No need to remind me. I'm the kind of person who likes to watch others die without helping. I hope you cough to death. Serves you right. You deserve it," I said, striding out of Mikai's room, ready to take a hot shower and then catch a short nap. But I intermittently heard coughing coming from Mikai's room. I stopped walking toward the bathroom. Suddenly, for no reason, I found myself in a struggle. I felt that I was the only man in this house. And her cough sounded so helpless. Do I really have to just sit here and watch? Forget it. I've been a jerk for so long. Might as well do one good deed. Store up some karma. I told myself this. I put the towel in my hand on the sofa, went to the kitchen, found a piece of ginger and a bag of brown sugar, lit the gas stove, and started brewing ginger and brown sugar soup. I was so sleepy I could barely keep my eyes open. I lit a cigarette to stay awake, then stared numbly at the simmered ginger and brown sugar soup in the pot. A round of the morning sun had already peeked over the easternmost edge of the sky outside the window. A gentle breeze brushed past the spider plants hanging on the balcony. A new day began, radiating order in the early morning. The vitality and freshness of a billion years. I was a bit mesmerized. The world at this moment was enchanting, and it seemed to belong only to me. Perhaps compared to this rare morning, I wasn't really that fond of the night's glittering lights and revelry. Meat-sized coughing snapped me out of my daze. Only then did I notice the ginger soup boiling over in the pot. After it had been bubbling for a while, I turned off the gas stove. I ladled a bowl and walked toward Meat-Size's room. I made some ginger soup. You should drink it, I said, standing by Meat-Size's bedside. No need for your kindness. Who's being kind to you? I'm afraid your constant coughing will keep me awake, I said discontentedly. Meat-Size replied ungratefully. If you move out, you won't hear it. If I move out, you could cough to death at home and no one would know. Stop the nonsense, just drink the ginger soup already. As I spoke, I put down the bowl and grabbed Meat-Size. I propped up the pillow and rudely helped her sit up. I touched her forehead. She really had a fever. I then picked up the bowl from the bedside table and handed it to her. Drink the ginger soup first. Meat-Size stopped fighting with her body. She took the ginger soup from my hand and drank it. Although she still didn't speak, her expression wasn't as cold as before. After you finish, get under the covers and sleep. Leave the bowl here. I'll come back to collect it later. You have a low fever, so take some fever-reducing medicine too. You'll feel better once you sweat it out. Afraid Meat-Size's cold might worsen. I put on a thick coat before going out. I rarely get sick, so I don't keep everyday medicine at home. That's why I had to go to the pharmacy to buy some for Meat-Size. Some fever reducers and cough medicine. It was too early. None of the pharmacies were open yet. After several bus stops, I finally found a clinic that was open. Once I bought the medicine, I immediately took a taxi back. After all this fussing around, it was already 7:30. I returned to the apartment and went to meet Kai's room. But she was already asleep, her breathing steady. She looked peaceful, so I didn't wake her. I found her phone in her bag. After dialing my own number, I also left a note on her bedside table. Remember to take the fever reducer and cough medicine after you wake up. Call me if you can't handle anything. I've saved the number in your phone. The scumbag in your eyes, the angel in my own. Zhaoyang. Gently, I tucked her in. I left her room. I took a hot shower, but didn't have time for breakfast. I got on the bus to the company again. In a state of lethargy, I started the day's work. I was so sleepy, yawning one after another. Finally, I simply propped my chin on one hand and fell asleep in a highly skillful posture. If you didn't come closer, you'd never notice I was sleeping. Feng Yuan was busy because the wedding was approaching. He didn't come to the company until almost 10 o'clock. He raised his hand and woke me up. Did you go clubbing again last night? Thinking about what happened last night made me furious. But it wasn't worth taking it out on Feng Yuan, so I yawned and replied. Didn't sleep well. It kept me up all night. Feng Yuan misinterpreted what I meant and said, you need to take care of your kidneys, even if you're young. You can't keep messing around with women so recklessly. We're both educated people. Can you be a bit more subtle? Feng Yuan smiled helplessly and then asked me, the proposal for the Gucci design counter yesterday, did you get done for me? All done. I saved it in the D-Drive documents for you. Feng Yuan nodded, then handed me a note and said, Zhaoyang, I'll ask the manager for personal leave for you later. You accompany Yin Yin and follow the list on this note. To go to the mall and buy everything that needs to be bought. Are you the one getting married, or am I? You're asking me to accompany Yin Yin shopping. I asked, somewhat amused. Feng Yuan sighed. I can't help it either. There's so much to buy, and Yin Yin can't carry it all by herself. I'll have to go with the people from the investment department to Shanghai with the proposal to meet with Gucci and discuss setting up a counter in our mall. I can't let my personal affairs affect the company's months-long investment plan. Can I? All right, I replied, but then yawned. I was tricked into walking half the night. And after a sleepless night, how could I not be tired? Feng Yuan patted my shoulder and said, just bear with it. I'll treat you to dinner when you get back tonight. I waved at Feng Yuan. Go handle your business. I'll try to catch a few more winks. No more napping. Yin is waiting for you downstairs at the company. Feng Yuan paused, his tone suddenly softening as he leaned close to my ear and whispered, oh, and Jianwei replied to the email. The day Yin and I get married, there's an 80% chance she'll rush back from the US. I stared wide-eyed at Feng Yuan, my drowsiness completely gone. Suddenly, I felt as if I were trapped between the two extremes of ice and fire. 3 years. Was she finally coming back? A moment later, Feng Yuan and I went downstairs together. He got into the company's business van. I sat in Yin Yan's car. My nerves were gripped by an inexplicable pang of anguish. In my heart, I even resented Feng Yuan for telling me the news so suddenly, saying that Jianwei was coming back. After 3 years, I had long since forgotten what emotion I should face her with. I spent countless days and nights driven mad by the desire to see her. But I was also terrified of seeing her, afraid that the silence and awkwardness after we met would be too painful. Yin started the car. After changing lanes while checking the rearview mirror, she asked me, Xiaoyang, why do you look so burdened? After asking, she shook her head and added, that doesn't seem like you. I smiled and said, what? Do I have to be carefree to be myself? Feng Yuan told you that Jianwei would be coming back, didn't he? I hummed in response, but opened the car window and lit a cigarette. No wonder. In this world, aside from Jianwei, no one else could stir your melancholic nerves. Xiaoyang, could they? Yin sighed. You're overthinking. She's not that invincible. And I'm not that fragile either. I was still smiling as I replied. Yin shrugged and said, Xiaoyang, only you know how you really feel. The brighter your smile, the deeper the pain inside, right? You speak as if you know me so well. This time I finally put away the smile that Yin identified as a facade, to prove I wasn't as hurt as she said. We've been friends for so many years. If I don't understand you, who does? Xiaoyang, let me tell you something from the heart. Although we all feel sorry for you and Jianwei, I still have to tell you, once a woman's heart changes, the man she once loved becomes nothing more than a used cigarette, no longer able to draw any pleasure from it. It only stung my eyes and left them red. At this moment, the only thing she could do was throw away this secondhand smoke. Do you understand what I mean? Why are you telling me all this? I took a deep drag of my cigarette and asked, I hope you'll be a bit more graceful about it. After a long silence, I asked with lingering reluctance, what is love anyway? Isn't it just a promise followed by a lifetime of commitment? So why do people make a promise but lack the courage to stick to it? Xiaoyang, love really isn't as simple as you think. How did Feng Yuan and I manage to make it to the end? Yet you and Jianwei should understand why. I fell silent again. I did understand. Neither Feng Yuan nor Yin came from wealthy families, but their family backgrounds were decent enough you could call them well-matched. As for me and Jianwei, I clearly remember that before Jianwei went abroad, her father bought her a Cadillac CTS as a graduation gift. But does love really have to be measured by material things? I don't quite understand, Yin said again. Jianwei truly loved you. You know that her studying in the US was to avoid her parents' pressure to marry. She hoped that after 3 years back home, her parents would accept the fact that she was with you. But why did she break up with you after arriving in the US? I can't figure it out either. Maybe it really was because I don't want to relive the feelings from that breakup. I interrupted Yin. Stop. Just like you said, when she changed her heart, treat me like a secondhand cigarette that gives no pleasure. I said she changed her heart. It's just a metaphor. Yin comforted again. There are some people in this world who have a special ability to talk a suicidal person into actually killing themselves. Undoubtedly, Yin was the one. All day long, I accompanied Yin according to the list Feng Yuan made for their wedding purchases. Items needed for the wedding. It was tea until evening that I grabbed a simple bite to eat with Yin. We went our separate ways. Although I hadn't slept a wink the night before and had done manual labor all day today. When nightfall came, I surprisingly didn't feel the slightest bit sleepy. Walking down the street, every time I saw under the neon lights, couples clinging to each other as they passed me by, a surge of endless loneliness and emptiness welled up in my heart. Out of habit, I still wanted to empty my mind, as if my nights were meant to belong to the club. I told myself that maybe a few drinks would help me sleep soundly tonight. Listening to the thumping bar music, watching the flickering, shifting lights, and people wildly twisting their hips. Before long, I had downed several bottles of beer. I felt a bit dizzy. I love this feeling. No worries, no love or hate, no grudges. Only a hazy illusion that is both real and unreal. There were 2 resident bands in this bar. The 2 bands took turns performing every night. Today happened to be the band led by Robin. The Tear Nerve band was the resident band, and Robin and I had a good relationship. Sometimes we'd play music together. Robin pressed his fingers against the guitar strings, producing a scratching noise as a tease. He grinned at me and said, "Zhao Yang, come up and play." I set down my beer bottle and jumped onto the stage, taking the guitar from Robin's hands. I said to the other band members, "Let's play Return to Life." Everyone nodded, and the instruments began to sound. Under the flashing lights, heavy metal music began to swell, carrying the release of drunkenness. I planted one foot on a prop shaped like an ammo crate and started playing the electric guitar wildly, singing with a hoarse, explosive voice. Fantasy's hand grabbing the giant flag, my bones tucked inside the coat. Frantically recalling the route I came from, I turned and smashed into the thumping wall. "Oh my God, I can't get back. Oh, Mama, you'll have to bear with it, Mama. Hurry up and give birth to me. Give birth to me." I raised my voice, craning my neck. I had only sung half a song when a long-haired guy in the crowd, wearing a black jacket with a gold chain, looking like a thug, glared at me. He shouted at me, "You bumpkin, what the hell are you singing? Change the song now." I stopped, squinting at him. "Say that again. You son of a bitch." The long-haired guy kicked over the nearest drum set. "You fucking idiot. I told you to change the song." "I fuck your grandpa," I shouted, standing on high, and kicked him in the face, as if finding the pleasure of venting. I jumped off the stage, grabbed the guitar, and smashed it. In a blink, the guitar was smashed to pieces. The long-haired guy was also beaten, curling up on the ground, and screaming heartbreakingly. A few people with the long-haired guy grabbed beer bottles and charged at me. They were blocked by Robin and the band members. In the chaos, I saw someone calling the police. Then I threw away the remains of the guitar and ran out of the bar. In the interrogation room of the police station, the lights were shining on me. Sitting across from me was an older police officer who looked relatively kind. Name, gender, age, workplace. No, officer, that bastard really deserved a beating. He was the one who kicked our drum kit first. You know, for us musicians, instruments are like our own brothers. He hit my brother. How could I let that slide? "Officer, I really didn't want to fight, but there are bad people among the crowd," I said with a mournful face. "Cut the crap, kid. No matter what excuses you have, fighting and brawling are wrong. The law doesn't give you that right, understand? Officer, I know I was wrong. I've already reflected deeply and examined my conscience. I shouldn't have disregarded the majesty of the law. From now on, I will raise my awareness and be a law-abiding good citizen. I'll never hold back the harmony of society." "All right, stop joking around. Go pay the fine. No detention," I asked cautiously. "The young man you beat up only suffered minor injuries." He agreed to settle privately. "You need to cover the medical expenses and compensation for lost work. Including the fine, it's 6,000 yuan in total." 6,000? "Officer, I don't have that much cash on me. Call your family or friends." Upon hearing the words family and friends, I suddenly felt lost. At that moment, I truly sensed that in this city, where I had lived for 2 years, I was so utterly alone. I definitely couldn't go to Fang Yuan or Yin Yen. For one, they were about to get married, and I didn't want to bring this trouble to them. For another, they had expressed to me countless times their hope that I would live a stable life. It was better not to let them know about something like this, afraid of disappointing them. After thinking for a long time, that face, which utterly hated me, it was excessively beautiful, floated into my mind. Go to me, Kai. Yes, go to me, Kai. Anyway, in her eyes, I was just a scumbag, completely without image. Let her help me pay the fine first. And when I get my salary next week, I'll pay her back, including the money I already owe her. At this moment, I was actually glad that I had remembered her phone number this morning. I took out my phone from my pocket, found me Kai's number, and dialed it. The phone rang with a few beeps before it was answered. I asked, feigning concern before Mikai could. The fever reducer and cough medicine I bought for you. Did you take them? I did. Mikai responded indifferently. Though indifferent, it seemed to lack the previous disgust. Then, are you feeling better? Much better. Mikai said, then coughed again. Wear more clothes, get a little warmth, and you'll recover soon. I still said with concern. I'm not going out. Why would I wear so many clothes? Seeing that Mikai had been successfully led into my conversation, I finally said, actually, I really need to trouble you to come out for a bit. I'm at the police station right now. I got into a fight, and I don't have enough money to pay the fine. Could you come and help pay it? All right. Mikai hesitated for a moment before asking. You got into a fight? Yeah, that bastard was really asking for it, so I hit him. It was to teach him not to live so carelessly. I think you live more carelessly than anyone. Mikai rebuffed me without giving a clear answer whether she'd come or not. I asked anxiously, so are you coming or not? Can you give me a definite answer? Mikai fell silent, and this silence seemed somewhat deliberate. I urged anxiously again. Can you come? They're about to take the law into their own hands over here. As soon as I finished speaking, before Mikai could respond, the police officer got angry and yelled at me. We are people's police. Do you think we're the mafia? What? Taking the law into their own hands. I quickly covered the phone and whispered, calm down, calm down. I was just using an exaggerated figure of speech to describe the situation. Let her come quickly and help me pay the fine. That way, I'll be free and you'll save yourself trouble. Right, officer? The officer made a gesture for me to hurry up and handle it. He didn't say anything more, but I was a bit nervous, waiting for Kai's reply. If she didn't want to come, with no other choice, I'd really have to bother Fong Yuan and his wife. Mikai seemed to have made a very difficult decision. Before asking me, which police station, I replied hastily, as if I had been saved. Guanxian Police Station. Mikai hummed an acknowledgement and hung up the phone. This vague attitude, however, plunged me into anxiety, considering her earlier act of leaving me 30 kilometers away in a wilderness on the outskirts of the city. It wasn't impossible for her to screw me over again this time. The police officer had already left, and I was still stuck in the interrogation room. To me at that moment, the cold walls around me and on them, representing the dignity of the law, the words leniency for confession, severity for resistance, made me feel somewhat oppressed. I couldn't wait to get out of this place. But as time passed, I started to suspect that I had been screwed over again. Half an hour later, the door that had been sealed shut finally opened. This time, it was a female police officer. She said to me, Zhaoyang, right? Someone has paid your fine for you. Take your ID and go register. Those words finally let the tension in my nerves loosen up. When I stood up from a chair, I felt a bit lightheaded, but the weight and oppression in my heart were still relieved. She really came to save me from this misery. Mikai and I walked out of the police station side by side. I felt as if I had been reborn into a different world. Even the air outside, mixed with car exhaust, seemed to feel fresh. Mikai tucked a stray strand of hair behind her ear, covered her mouth with the back of her hand, and coughed again. She was sick, yet still came to help me with this trouble. Feeling guilty, I said to Mikai, I'm sorry for all the trouble today. About that fine and the money I owe you from before. I scratched my head, a little embarrassed. Even next week's salary won't be enough to pay it all back. Mikai, however, didn't really care about the money I owed. She stopped and said to me, You know you've caused me trouble. Don't stir up this kind of trouble again in the future. I chuckled self-deprecatingly and said, You said I'm scum, right? Fighting, sleeping around. Only by doing all that do you qualify as a proper scumbag. That makes me a qualified one, doesn't it? Mikai glanced at me and said nothing, but the look of disgust in her eyes toward me flared up again. Perhaps she simply saw it as reckless, stubborn nonsense, but she didn't understand it was my self-deprecating humor tinged with a hint of melancholy. Mikai kept walking forward, and I fell in a step beside her. Softening my tone, I suggested to her, Actually, next week after I get paid, along with the money my dad left me, I'll be able to pay back what I owe you. But then I won't have enough left to rent a place. How about this? I pay you back first, and you let me stay for another month. Once I get back on my feet financially, I'll move out. Mikai looked at me with an expression that left me unable to read her emotions. As Mikai and I locked eyes in silence, a taxi as if injected with adrenaline, pulled up not far from us. Then the door was flung open urgently, and I saw Lu Yao rushing out, bag in hand. As she hurried off the taxi, Lu Yao came up to me, standing face to face with Mi Kai. They were similar in height and dressed in different styles, yet both exuded a unique kind of elegance. And both were rare, true beauties in their own right. Even the two male police officers passing by couldn't help but take a second look. "Why are you here?" I asked in confusion. Lu Yao said to me with anxious concern in her tone. "Luo Ben called me. He said you got into a fight at the bar and were taken to the police station. It's all settled now," I replied in a light-hearted tone. Lu Yao did not respond to me, but said to me, Kai beside me, "Miss, could you please excuse us for a moment? I have some private words to say to Zhao Yang." Mikai had no interest in staying by my side anyway. She just nodded and walked toward her car, then drove away. This seemed like a very troublesome night. Feeling a bit irritable, I habitually lit a cigarette for myself. Lu Yao looked in the direction where Mikai had disappeared and asked, "Did she pay the fine for you? Since it's obvious, can you not ask?" I said with some impatience. "What is your relationship with her?" "Whatever you think it is, that's what it is," I replied perfunctorily again. My perfunctory and impatience annoyed Lu Yao and made her look a bit dejected. Then she fell into silence. After smoking half a cigarette, I finally said to Lu Yao, "You should go back now the wind is strong. You just had surgery, your body can't handle it." Lu Yao shook her head, indicating she wouldn't leave, and then asked me, "Why did you get into a fight? Is there something troubling you that you're keeping bottled up?" I was taken aback. Her question made me wonder why I had fought in the first place. In the 2 years I've been hanging out at bars, I've encountered all kinds of drunks, people making scenes, all sorts. Before, I would just ignore them. Why couldn't I tolerate it today? Even though I didn't want to admit it. It was indeed related to the news that Jian Wei was coming back. Before, she was far away, and the pain had been lying dormant, barely noticeable. But when she decided to return, these wounds suddenly erupted, gnawing at my fragile nerves. I looked at Li Yao, rubbed my face heavily with both hands, and said, "Please, just don't ask anymore, okay? Zhao Yang, do I really make you that impatient?" Lu Yao said to me with tears in her eyes. I said nothing, just smoked. Standing in the cold wind with Li Yao, we played out a classic scene of silent man and a weeping woman. After a long time, Li Yao finally spoke to me. "I'm going to Hengyan next week." The crew started filming early. "Really? Good luck, hope you become a huge star." Lu Yao looked at me with a complicated expression. Her tone was very soft as she said to me, "I'm not telling you this to get your blessing. I just hope that while I'm away, you can live well, at least be a bit happier." I continued to stay silent, my heart swirling with mixed emotions. Yet I couldn't figure out where these emotions were coming from. Lu Yao took a pen out of her handbag. She said to me, "Give me your hand." Although I didn't know what she was about to do, I mechanically held out my hand to her. Lu Yao wrote a phone number on my hand. Said to me, "I'll be staying in Hengyan for a long time this time. If you're feeling down or have something on your mind, just call me at this number. At least we can talk like friends." She paused and added, "This number is on 24/7. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. I just looked at her in silence. Lu Yao put the pen back in her bag and gave me a slight smile. "Next time we meet, we should say long time no see. Bye, Zhao Yang." Watching Lu Yao's retreating figure, I don't know why, but I suddenly felt a sense of parting sadness, maybe even with friends with benefits. Over time, a little feeling can develop. Although most of the time, I was annoyed by the endless trouble she brought me. It was late, I should go back. But where should I go? Although I still lived in that old but warm room, I was only staying there by being thick-skinned. If Mitsai insists on me leaving, where would I put the melancholy and disappointment that haunt me, the loneliness? Must I truly entrust them to this boundless night? No, I don't want to leave. I should have a proper talk with Mitsai, even if it means begging her to take me in, just to properly place those melancholy, disappointment, and loneliness. The night grew deeper, the alcohol cleared. I zipped up my jacket, lit a cigarette, and walked aimlessly on the street, stepping on the shadows of neon lights. But my mind was filled with endless trivialities. Suddenly, I grew tired of my current life. I wanted to do something for my own life. Yet I didn't know where to start, which left me even more lost. I passed by a hotel and saw lights spilling from dozens of windows, as if I could glimpse pairs of bodies rising and falling on beds, making the entire hotel seem to sway. Tonight, Some enjoy the night's ecstasy in warm rooms, while others, withering, wander the streets, enduring the loneliness of the night. But it is precisely because of such contrast that the world appears so three-dimensional and real. I ought to understand that the world is inherently a complex bundle of contradictions. Loneliness and loss must always be borne by someone, so I need not feel wronged or complain. But tonight, the moonlight is unexpectedly so beautiful, shining so that the loneliness has nowhere to hide. So please, celestial beings, turn off the moon's power. I am willing to bear the loneliness, but it doesn't mean I wish to expose it. In this naked world, returned to my place, I habitually stood downstairs and looked up, but did not see Mikai's car. I then circled to the other side of the building and looked again. The car was there. Mikai seemed to have grown accustomed to parking the car here. I crouched next to the car and had another cigarette, then went back upstairs. Then I stood at Mikai's room door for a while before knocking on her door. Mikai, are you asleep? I asked softly, is there something? I want to talk to you. Mikai replied as I expected. There's nothing to talk about between us. At least let me thank you in person for what happened tonight. I'm really so grateful to you. No need. Mikai rejected me with the same 3 words again. If I don't say it, I'll feel bad. I said this without getting Mikai's permission and opened her door under the pretext of gratitude. The light in the room was still on. Mikai was sitting at her desk reading a book, or maybe some documents or files. Mikai seemed to have already gotten used to my rudeness and didn't react to my entering the room. Without permission, I came up behind her, glanced over, and asked, "What are you looking at?" Mikai didn't pay me any attention. She kept her focus on the documents she was reading. I just stood there awkwardly, but in my mind, I was brewing how to tell Mikai about my plan to continue staying here. Do you think it's appropriate for you to stand in a woman's room at this hour of the night? Mikai asked coldly. I just wanted to say thank you, nothing more. I quickly said, then say it and get out. Oh, I replied, then asked ingratiatingly, by the way, did you take your medicine tonight? I heard you coughing just now. Mikai closed the file and frowned at me. Just say what you have to say quickly. I'm about to rest. Fine, you told me to say it, but don't get mad at me when I do. I quickly said, then don't say it. No, that won't do. A word once spoken can't be unspoken. You told me to say it, so I have to. After a moment's hesitation, I finally said. After a moment's pause, I finally said, I'll be honest with you. I don't want to move out at all. After saying that, I instinctively straightened up, trying to intimidate Mikai with a commanding presence, to make her agree to my request of not moving out. Mikai glanced at me and said calmly, I already said you don't have to repay the debt for now, so there's no reason for you not to move out. I said I don't want to move out at all. Don't you understand what I mean? I raised my voice and said, but you've promised to move out more than once. Is your promise really that cheap in your own eyes? Mikai's words were cold, but there was anger flashing in her eyes. What's wrong with letting me live here? My words were also angry. While Mikai didn't understand me, I also didn't understand her. There are plenty of people sharing apartments in this city. Why am I so attached to this room? If she keeps ruthlessly driving me away. Besides, I think my track record as a roommate is pretty solid. I'm a safe person to live with. Mitsai retorted, tell me what's so good about it? Everything, I thought for a moment and added. With me living here, if there's any neighbor dispute or something, I can easily handle it for you. Let me tell you, I'm the top boss of this neighborhood. Can you stop being so childish? Mitsai cut me off. I sneered, you don't believe me? Go check out other neighborhoods. Don't they have those square dancing old ladies causing a ruckus every night? Have you noticed any in our neighborhood? None, I tell you. Even though this neighborhood has no property management, with me here, it's way better than any property management. Even if what you're saying is true, it doesn't justify you staying here. You have to move out. Mitsai said to me, still resolute. I got angry again. Are you out of your mind? What's wrong with you letting me stay here? At least I can fix the clogged pipes and broken lights, right? When it rains or something and you're not home, I can help bring in the laundry. And like today, you're sick and I can't just stand by and do nothing. I have to buy you medicine and make you a bowl of ginger soup. Why do you have to be so stubborn and make both of us unhappy? I'm not unhappy. Mitsai's words choked me. After an awkward silence, I finally said, anyway, I don't want to move. I owe you so much money. I think paying you back first is more important than moving out. Mitsai asked unexpectedly, tell me why paying back money is more important than moving out. I said almost without thinking, Paying off your debt makes me feel at ease, but moving out makes me feel empty and helpless. If it were you, would you choose to pay back first or move first? If you move out from here, you can still live somewhere else. How can I even begin to talk about the emptiness and helplessness? Mikai continued to ask. I looked around at everything in this room, and an indescribable emotion stirred in my heart again. Mikai simply doesn't understand the attachment I have to this hoe. Se, the feelings and longing it evokes. So every time she kicks me out, she never considers my feelings. But then again, she doesn't have to consider them. No matter how deep my attachment is, in the end it's mine alone. I lit a cigarette to relieve the disappointment and helplessness in my heart. Can you not smoke in my room? Mikai's words were filled with disgust again. But I couldn't blame her. I was the one who was too presumptuous, to the point of forgetting that I was still in her room. Sorry, I'll go smoke on the balcony, I said softly. After finishing a cigarette on the balcony, I returned to the living room. But what surprised me was Mikai wasn't in her bedroom at the moment. Instead, she was sitting on the sofa in the living room. She took the initiative to speak to me for the first time. You Haven T answered my question from earlier. You were asking me why I moved out, whether I felt empty and adrift, right? Michai nodded. I sat down on the sofa across from Mikai. Closing my eyes, the countless days and nights I had lived here flashed through my mind like fragments. After a long silence, I finally spoke. I moved in 2 years ago. The days right after I moved in were the darkest days of my life. I had insomnia almost every night. The reason I couldn't sleep was that I had so many things on my mind, but I couldn't share them with anyone. Yet keeping them bottled up was agonizing. So I treated the floor lamp in the room, the cabinet, the wall clock, even a mop, as my friends. I told them those thoughts I couldn't share with others, though they never answered me. Yet they were very patient, no matter how long I spoke. They were all so patient that after I got it off my chest, I didn't feel so terrible anymore. I was very grateful to them, grateful for everything in this room. They are my support, my friends, so I don't want to leave. I love this room. Although it is humble, it is the safest and warmest place in my world. After I finished speaking, Mikai looked at me with a very complex look, but I had no idea what that complexity meant. I just waited nervously, wondering if she would let me continue living here.